All right, everyone. As usual, on Thursday, we go over the HafTorah of this week's parsha. This week, we learned about Noah and how God made this terrible flood in the world, and then afterwards swore that he would never do it again. And even though it doesn't say that in the Torah, but in the Torah, it says that God will never make another flood. But what really God means is he'll never destroy the world again. Because, I mean, just practically, what difference does it make? God says, okay, I'm not going to make a flood, but I can make a fire, I can make an earthquake, I can make a bomb, I can make this. So God is swearing not just that he won't use water, because water is no worse than the other terrible means of destruction. There are ample means of destruction. God said, I'm never going to allow that the world will be destroyed again. That's for all mankind. Because all mankind has hope, because every man is created in the image of God. But the Jewish people especially, and the Jewish people are, it says, chivi yetera, that there's an extra dearness given to the Jewish people. And here is where he expresses it. Isaiah, a lot of the prophecies of Isaiah are how angry God is at the Jewish people, because he expected so much of them, and that they're not coming across. But the underlying theme is a double one. Number one, the reason God is so angry at the Jews is because he expects so much of them. And number two is that he'll never stop loving the Jews, no matter what. He'll punish them, he'll do terrible things to them, which we see has occurred in ample measure in the annals of history. But throughout that same theme that the Jewish people have suffered is always accompanied by, and if you want to say, based on the fact that God loves the Jews and he'll never stop loving them. If so, he could say, you just do what you want, I don't care. So Isaiah Perik Nun Daled. Rani Akara, rejoice, barren one. The Jewish people have been barren. Now, this, of course, is a prophecy, because Isaiah was like around the middle of the first temple. So he wasn't there to see the destruction of the temple, Isaiah. Jeremiah was, etc., but Isaiah was not. But he was around to see the Jewish people doing things that were sufficient to cause the destruction of the temple. But God just held off for hundreds of years. So here we go. Rejoice, barren one, lo yalad, that you did not give birth. Let me get my pointer. You have not given birth. Why? Ki rabim b'nei shemema, because there will be more to the children of, like, the exile, the destroyed city, and those Jews will have more mi b'nei be'ula, than the ones who are ruling over you. Omer Hashem, says God. So there's a lot of Babylonians, and there's a lot of whatever it is that are ruling over the Jews. Well, and you feel very small. Well, don't worry about it, because it's not going to be that way forever. Harchivi makom alech, widen the place of your tents, v'yuriot mishkanotayach yatu, and pitch the tents in your dwellings. Al tishchachi, don't be, stingy. Harichi metarech, make long ropes to hold the tents down. And the pegs that you put in should be strong. In other words, get ready that one day there's going to be such a expansion of the Jewish people that you're going to have large tents, and larger, until you build buildings. It'll be a huge and very quick expansion. Yamin the small tifrotzi, because you will spread out, right and left you will spread out. V'zar'ech, and your seed, your offspring, goyim yirash, will inherit nations. They'll take over nations. Now, it's not talking about necessarily in war, the other nations will willfully want to be ruled by the Jews. Maybe the perfect example we have now, this place that calls itself the Palestinians. I mean, those people are just suffering terrible under their leaders. Their leaders are a bunch of thieves and criminals. And the Jewish people, the Israelis anyway, really think they can make peace with these people, and they don't want any peace. And the people, they don't want these rulers that they have to rule over them. They would and go to the other nations, the other Arab nations, and you see that the people there are not necessarily living very in good conditions. Their leaders are terrible, so they will willfully be ruled by the Jews, not the Jews as they are now. Now we have terrible governments, awful, the worst in the world. And if you ask me, that the governments that we have now in Israel are proof of God's existence. Only if God would not be protecting us every second from these people, as that we wouldn't have, no other nation would be able to exist even for 5 minutes. The whole thing would just crumble in a minute. But God is obviously protecting us. So it says, in the future, when Mashiach rules, as all of the nations will come and they'll want to be ruled by the Jews. Because the Jews won't want to be like the nations. They won't want to be always flattering them and kowtowing to them, etc. And so they'll be connected to the creator of the universe. Al-Tireh, don't be afraid. Ki lo tavoshi, you will not be ashamed. V'lo tikalmi, and you will not be embarrassed. Ki lo tavchiri, and you will not be like, how do you say, destroyed or something. Ki boshes alamotayech, tachpir is like to be really like deeply embarrassed. How do you say it? Kiboshes alumayich, because the shame of your youth tishkechi will be forgotten. The chirpos almonotayich, and the disgrace of your your widowhood, you won't remember it all. And we're going to see in just a moment that the Jews they're like a widow. Almana is usually a widow. But the Jews are not almana, we'll see. Because your master will make you. Hashem tzvos shemo, God is your master. He is your husband. Kadosh Yisrael, and you're the Redeemer. Who's going to redeem you? Right? Not America or the United Nations or the Israeli army. God himself will redeem you. Elokei Oretz, who he is the God of the whole entire universe. He is called. What about that the Jewish people, we said, are like a widow. A widow is somebody whose husband died, right? So who is the husband of the Jewish people? Well, it doesn't sound good. Ki, because kasher azuva va'atzuva, just like you have been abandoned and you are sad, atzuva gruach, and you are sad, korach, Hashem, God will call you ve'eshet nurim ki tim'as amar alav hayach. You did some bad things, Jewish people. So you are like the love of one's youth that has, gone astray. God had big hopes for you, and he thought you would be loyal to him, and you weren't. So God was really like disappointed. But rega katana zavtich, God says, I have left you for just one moment. With great mercy, I will gather you together. So the Jewish people are all scattered all around. They're going crazy because God seems to have left them. And so, you can't blame all these weird college professors and things like that to say, strange, just really bizarre things that are going on in America today and the world. And of course, Jews are in the vanguard of all this nonsense. So it says, don't worry about it. The reason you're doing this is because you think I've left you. And the fact is it'll be just like 1 second, like I left you for 1 second. But with great mercy, I'm going to gather you. B'shetzef ketzef, with just a little bit of anger, histarti panai, I hid my face from you. Rega mimech, just like 1 moment from you. B'chesed olam, with eternal kindness. B'chamtich, I will have mercy on you, says Golech, your Redeemer, God. What's this got to do with Noah? Why is it says that the HafTorah of the week always has something to do with the weekly portion. Well, here it goes. Ki mei Noach, because the waters of Noah, zot li are mine. Asher nishbati, that I swore, me avor me Noach, that I said I'm not going to bring this flood waters anymore on the world. Was God promised I'm not going to destroy the world? Ki nishbati mi ketzev, so also came. Also, I'm making an oath that I'm never going to be angry at you anymore or yell at you. Okay, now this is obviously a prophecy because Isaiah was in the beginning of the first temple and like in the middle of the first temple. And the first temple was destroyed. And then afterwards, the Jewish people went into exile and they came back. And so that's it. God said, I'm not going to get angry again, right? So God said, yes, I promise I'm never going to get angry, but I didn't say when that promise is going to take effect. So God destroyed the second temple also. The second temple the second temple stood for 420 years. So God swore after that, after that, there's going to come a time when I'm going to say, that's it, I'm finished punishing and torturing the Jewish people. Never, just like I swore, I'm never going to bring the waters of Noah on the world. Also, I'm making an oath that there's going to come a time when I'm not going to harm you anymore. The mountains will move. You ever see Mount Everest or something? Move, right? You're going mountain climbing. The mountain god says, I could swear there was a mountain here yesterday. There's no mountain. So, that never happens. So it's never going to happen. He said, well, before I leave you Jewish people, the mountains will move. In other words, neither one of them is going to happen. Mountains will move, and the hills will timuteno. They'll all, dissolve. They'll all also move. The chazdi, and my love for you, lo yamush. It's more probable that Mount, whatever it is, Everest or something, will move than I will stop loving you, says God. Uberit shalomi, and the covenant of my peace, lo tamut, will never be moved. Omar Rachamtech says, your lover, God who loves you. So that is the HafTorah for this week. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, God willing, at tomorrow, 8:15, we will learn a speech of the Rebbe. We'll see. Maybe we'll finish this Devar Malchut. I'm still a little bit disoriented from the month I spent by the Rebbe. From Yom Kippur, we almost didn't sleep every night. They were dancing and doing. Okay, have a good day, everyone. God willing, see you tomorrow at 8:15.